everyone, and welcome to Mental Fitness is the New Physical Health Today, where myself and Michelle Mupo, who is CEO of Mupo Entertainment LLC, who I'm very excited to be partnered with, believe we all should be living in abundance and optimum wellness physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. For those of you who are new and don't know who I am, I'm Jeffrey Berger, a certified holistic wellness coach. Again, welcome. And before I introduce my special guest, Patti Sinclair, to the stage, if I may. So, as a certified holistic wellness coach, I'm really humbled to be affiliated with an amazing group of humanitarian entrepreneurs who are aligned with the only holistic mental wellness company that is focusing on the microbiome. And you say, what is the microbiome? So the microbiome is actually the gut-brain-heart axis, and it is a science that's disrupting the health and wellness industry today, especially when it comes to mental wellness. You know, who out there has not experienced stress, anxiety, depression, or even suicidal thoughts? We provide real solutions to real people who are serious about getting their health from barely surviving to thriving again. And this interview series comes from the hearts of other people who are really opening up to understand that it's okay to talk about our mental health, share experiences, and become informed of alternative options that are out there that's safe and work. And I'm sure many of you already know that at no time in human history have we ever been so advanced technologically and yet so miserable psychologically. Today, there's no exaggeration to describe stress, depression, anxiety, and burnout as epidemics, literally the black plague of our modern times. How we feel is not just in our head, it's also in our gut. And national surveys are showing that happiness and life satisfaction levels are at all-time lows, while depression, suicide, drug addiction, and use of prescription antidepressants and pain-killing opioids are at all-time highs. There is no physical health without mental wellness, and they really are two sides of the same coin, and they are vital for each other and for our ability to reach our peak potential in this one life that we get to live. And this is what we really do best. So I'm about ready to get to introduce my special guest, but before we jump in and introduce Patti Sinclair, as I mentioned earlier, Mupo Entertainment is Mupo TV. This series is going to be on Mupo TV. It's going to be on a downloadable Android app for Android and or iPhone, and it's going to be on Roku and on Fire Stick. So let's take a quick break and I'll bring Patti on right next. All right, we are live with Patti Sinclair, and welcome, Patti. And Patti comes from Norfolk, Connecticut. I was just in Norfolk, Virginia yesterday or 2 days ago. And Patti is married to Michael. She is the mother of Christopher, Reed, and Aluna. And Patti is a spiritual medium, intuitive coach, and a gut health fanatic and a mental wellness advocate, true to heart. And she's going to share a little bit about her 45 days on a three-part protocol that turned her life around. And before we get started, Patti, share a little bit about who Patti is with the audience today.
I love being here with you. Welcome to everybody. So I've been working as a professional spiritual medium for 22 years. And before that, I was sort of, Jane of all trades, I guess. This light is blinding me a bit. I was working as a full-time caterer, and it was shortly after September 11th. I really felt this major connection coming through for me from the other side. And I knew that the world was in so much pain because of what had happened that day, that if I really did have a gift where I could connect people with their loved ones, I needed to kind of step into it. So I took a journey out to California. I did a lot of studying and training with the top people in the field. Some people might recognize the name James Van Praagh, who was a mentor of mine, and a few, I don't want to name drop, but I really sought out the best people that I could find. And it's been a long journey over these years. I work with helping people to really understand their intuition and how to tap into that. I think that's one of the things I enjoy doing the most, because sometimes mediumship work is a little heavy, if I'm honest. But Jeff, all of that time, what really drew me here to the mental wellness company was that I would see clients of mine, maybe they'd had a loss, let's say, of a child, and then I would see them a couple of years later and they wanted to connect with someone else in their family that had passed away. And I would recognize that they were still in a really bad space mentally and physically. And then I felt like even though our reading had allowed them to have a level of healing that was intense, they still weren't feeling well physically or moving forward mentally with where they were in their grief state. And it was about that time that I really hit a wall. Also, I have a sister who, Lassie, who had been healing from a cancer journey that was very significant. She was looking for ways to heal her gut when her doctors told her it was kind of impossible after her radiation protocol. And I have been a long time anxiety disorder sufferer, I believe mostly because of my intense ability to be an empath. I pick up on a lot of people's emotions, and I have since I was very small. So, as fate would have it, when we learned about Amare, our chief science officer, Dr. Sean Talbot, was coming to Boston 3 hours away, and we hopped in the car and went out there and met him, and it was a very intense, long day training. When we were small enough that he could still come around and be with us like that for the whole day and talk knee to knee. And I really wept on the way home. I know that sounds dramatic, but I wept over the solution he offered me to heal my microbiome or correct the neurotransmitter emission in my microbiome and my hormone imbalance. And he felt so strongly that it would make a really big dent in my anxiety issues. And no one had ever said that to me. And I'd been to Yale. I was a test study at Yale New Haven Hospital. I'd been to Boston. I'd been to New York. I really had been through it with my anxiety, and as you get older, oftentimes many women struggle more with anxiety as they hit the menopausal stage, because you have less of the hormones that keep you balanced, right?
That's correct.
So I gave it a shot, and I thought, I'll give it 45 days. I'll give it 60 days and see what happens. And Jeff, literally, it was day 44. I woke up, I looked at my phone, and I had slept for 7.5 hours without getting up to go to the bathroom. Too much information. We love to talk about going to the bathroom at the Mental Wellness Company.
We do.
That I looked at my phone, Jeff, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. And I know that might sound like not like a big deal to a lot of people, but that's when we heal, right? The body heals itself while we're in that deep state of sleep. And you can go to bed but not get into a deep REM sleep. And that's where the healing takes place. When I woke up and then that continued, I was like, I'm onto something. But then there were so many other significant changes, primarily in my panic attacks, which anybody that's ever had one knows they can be incredibly disabling. And so there are, if I have the space very quickly to talk about generalized anxiety disorder, which will leave a person just always feeling a little on edge, like their foot might tap all the time, they pick their fingers, their mind races a lot, versus generalized anxiety disorder versus panic attacks, which is literally like an immediate fight or flight, where you feel like I'm dying. You might get dizzy, you might feel like you're going to pass out, I'm dying. I mean, I've said that so many times. And then an anxiety attack, which is different. You feel it coming, it starts to creep up, and you really know you're not feeling well and something's coming. It's like a train, but it's not that immediate feeling. So panic and anxiety attacks are different, and generalized anxiety disorder is different. They all weigh very heavily on the gut microbiome. And that's why you get the knots in your stomach when you're anxious, or people even get nauseated, right? And you don't feel like eating, and then your blood sugar drops, and then you get more anxious because your blood sugar is low. And so it's a cycle that just really, but when Sean explained all of that to me so clearly and calmly, and said he would be shocked if I was dedicated to the protocol, which at that point for me, Jeff, it was just 3 products. It was 4 capsules and a scoop of powder every morning. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, why hasn't anybody ever told me this before? So I went all in. And I want to say to people listening, because so many people suffer with anxiety, it's an epidemic. It really is an epidemic. And it's not easy to talk about, because a lot of people that don't understand it will be like, just take a few deep breaths. Don't worry about it. Calm down. What are you so stressed out about? I can promise you none of those things ever helped anybody that was in a panic state, right? Because it's very chemical. And you end up building a neural pathway in your brain, right? So that if you had a bad panic attack on the subway one time, when you get on the subway, you might start to feel a panic attack coming on again. Or you could even be at a picnic and someone who shows up that you've had a panic attack with comes, and you're like, oh my God, why am I, so the brain doesn't know anything except it feels like there's a lion coming, and there's no lion coming. So
exactly. And I think that there's a lot of relatability to people who suffer from anxiety. They know that fight, flight, reaction, something is coming, they don't know what's coming, and then all of a sudden they react. And there's all kinds of triggers. And I don't like using the word trigger. I'm trying to replace that word trigger because of what's going on today.
Yeah.
But there's certain elements that flip in somebody's mind, flips in somebody's body, flips their chemical reactions. And we talk about the microbiome, and I basically call our gut is basically the mainframe to our body. It's a massive communication highway, because of the neurotransmitters and the hormones. 90% of them are created in our gut, and they communicate with all the rest of the body. And these are all chemical reactions. And to be able to have a product line that is plant-based, it's science-backed, clinical trial, award-winning, that really address those elements in our repairing our gut and then addressing mental acuity at those levels is pretty significant, because as we know, plants are put here for a reason. And now with the science and the innovation that we have with science, we're able to extrapolate the essence of those plants to feed the cells, the microorganisms, and the virome in our body to create our own hormones, our own neurotransmitters, so forth and so on. So that's really great. And you've had great success with this product line, on top of introducing it to other people. But I do want to talk a little bit about the introduction of this, because we both kind of were introduced to this in a different pathway through your sister.
Yeah.
And we were involved with another company, and we won't go into detail with that, but we were looking for something that was ethical and really had some science behind it. And what were some of the other elements that really caught your eye about Amare?
When my sister told me about it, I didn't want it to be good. I didn't want to be I didn't want to be a part of the industry anymore. We had had a really rough time um, with another company, and I love the industry of networking. I've been doing it since I'm 21. I turned 59 last week, and I love the idea of working from home. That's what I've been doing for my whole adult life. I've never worked for anybody else. Um, but like with anything, right? Not everything is a win. You know, it doesn't. I live here in the insurance capital of the world. I mean, I know half my family works in insurance. You might love it over at the Hartford and not like it at the Aetna. And sorry, I don't. I'm really not saying anything about the Aetna or the Hartford. But you know, like you have experiences with different companies. Maybe you're a nurse at one hospital and you're like, ah, it sucks over there, and you move to another hospital and you love it, right? When I looked at the Amari homepage, it drew me in so immediately with a soft energy. That's the only way I can describe it. The energy of it was soft and engaging, and it felt so honest. You know, these words sound a little cliche, but when you and I flew out to California and were able to sit there in that office, I mean, I think we walked in and it was like white shag rugs and purple lights and you know a beautiful place to eat a meal with beautiful food and a workout facility for all the employees, and everything was just so calm, you know, and everybody was so amazing to us. And I think for me, when we flew out there, Jeff, all the way back in 2018, and we met with the top people in the company, the only thing they wanted to know from us was how were we doing, you know, how
Right.
are we doing? There wasn't anything about tell us what you think, you know, you'll do moving forward. It was completely about how are you guys doing? How do you feel like we can help you? How do you feel like our products can help you? And that was game changing for me, quite honestly, because I didn't want to be involved in anything that didn't have an efficacy that was rock solid. Um,
Right.
what we're doing now, um, as you and I have gotten to know the owner of the company and the corporate people much more deeply, what we're doing now, you know, I believe is going to be dramatically life changing. I had the joy of meeting Mary Kay Ash, you know, the matriarch of Mary Kay,
Very
and
cool.
she was incredibly magnetic. And I was never even a Mary Kay girl, but she was incredibly magnetic. And when I heard her story about taking moms and people out of work and people who lived way out in the middle of nowhere that didn't have an opportunity to get a good job and offering them a chance to have a few girlfriends come over to the house and make some money, she said it was such conviction. I liken it to what we're doing now. So many people have been really hurt by the pandemic. A lot of people didn't want to go back to their job. A lot of people have run into trouble with their kids, with their spouses and their jobs, you know? And so being able to work from home, which Mary Kay, may she rest in peace, would be, well, she is looking down, like doing cartwheels about the ability we have via social media and things
Yeah.
like this, right? To reach
Absolutely.
people and get the message out that if you're suffering right now, whether it's you know, hormonally, whether it's in your gut and you're really struggling with something, an IBS diagnosis, Crohn's disease, so many different things. We're not talking about cures here, Jeff, as much as offering you a chance to go in and start to rebalance your system and give it a fighting chance because your body is so powerful and has such an ability to heal. And that's what we want, right? I mean, that's what we want to tell people is, like you said, if you're depressed, if it's anxiety, if it's ADHD, if it's um, suicidality, you know, we dig into some tough stuff, but we also help like really intense athletes and you know, people that are at the top of their game that want to go even higher. We work with nootropics now and so many really cutting edge things that I'm proud to be a voice for it, you know, and a testimonial
That's
of going
awesome.
in and you know, it doesn't mean that you have to be off RX meds. You know, I think you and I have talked about that. That's not, it's not always a win. You know what I mean? Like
No. You're
But
right.
if you can pull back, right? If you can pull back, if you could remove one, remove two, we're not over here saying no RX meds, live a holistic life, and that means this or that. We just want you to consider that this might be a part of the component, right? Just like
Correct.
you might still see your Western doc for some cardiology work, or a woman goes in for a workup, but you're
Yeah.
still going to your naturopathic doc, etc.
Yep.
So we want to be a
Absolutely.
layer of that,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And this brings
Sorry,
us.
I get all excited.
Yeah, and this brings us to our Happy Mind Pack, and this is something that has really hit mainstream here in regards to people looking for support, with motivation and brain health. They're looking for neuron regeneration and focus and memory, mental energy and endurance, healthy, positive mood. We're looking for people that want healthy, positive moods because our moods have been so altered in the last couple of years. And I want you to take a look at this because we're all about holistic options and plant based protocols that are addressing the needs when it comes to mental acuity and gut repair. All right, and this is a, a product pack that is really hitting big time with our four essential products that we have when it comes to happy mind pack and getting those neurotropics, all those natural holistic protocols that are addressing the brain, working through um, the vagus nerve, and also aiding in that gut and with the mood, bringing in that mood and elevated experience and things like that. So we're kind of coming up to a wrap here, Patty. What I'd like to do is, for you to share one thing with our viewers who might be out there looking for that glimmer of hope, um, that, whether it's mental health, whether it's gut health, whether it's hormonal balancing, anything that you could plant a seed for those individuals out there looking, what would that be?
I think we've been taught for a lot of years that we don't have the power to heal. And we use that word cautiously because it's not a claim that we're making about healing a certain issue that you might have. But I think we've lost our power, and we need to get back to the earth in a lot of ways, to get back into nature, to get back to quiet, to get back to more meditation. Sorry, but that's what I do for a living. And we have to be able to draw from the earth, which is what we do here at Amare. We draw from the earth, plants and herbs and trees. We travel the world to gather the finest ingredients. And I don't just say that, from communities that were really also helping people to create a sustainable living. And so the energy of that also goes into the products. So I want people to remember that your body has the power to heal, and we are working with all facets of you as a human being. How you feel physically, how you feel mentally, and also how you feel spiritually. So come on board and, let's see if we can't get you feeling better.
Awesome. Thanks, Patty. That's really great advice, and I agree with you. When we start treating our body um, correctly, it's amazing how fast it responds.
It's
Our
crazy.
body temple is hungry for the essential nutrients, and once we start feeding it, it will respond relatively quickly. So, again, this is my series entitled "Mental Fitness is the New Physical Health," and we hope that you found value in tonight's interview with Patti Sinclair. And since this is on multiple platforms, if you're able to comment, let us know in the comments if you found value, what you found value. If you have any questions, let us know in the questions. You can contact me at jeffreyeburger.biz. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok. And there is Patty, spiritual medium Patti Sinclair on Facebook. You can reach out to her there. And my special guest next week, and it's going to be on Tuesday because I'll be flying to Las Vegas on Wednesday, is Billy Reed. We'll be on 7/19 at 6 p.m. He will be joining me, and looking forward to having a conversation with him. So, lastly, I believe we all should be living a life in abundance and optimum wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. And remember, mental fitness is the new physical health. And I will close this evening with two quick commercials. And thanks for joining me. Thanks, Patty, for taking the time from your schedule to join me tonight. And we'll see you on the inside next time. Thanks.
Yay.